ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. It's 4 o'clock. Welcome to Montana's only statewide sports talk show. Broadcast on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Western Montana and across the state on SWX Television.
I like football!
Now, the 2017 Radio Sports Broadcaster of the Year on the show with back-to-back Montana Broadcaster Association awards for sports coverage and award-winning sports journalism. Here is Ryan Tutel and Colter Nuanez.
Hello, Montana. The Grizz and the Cats on the right side of a couple of blowouts over the weekend. And Monday Night Football featuring the Seattle Seahawks on the road at the San Francisco 49ers. We will have that for you here on ESPN Radio as well. Hi, how are you? Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television statewide. Outstanding to be with you on a Monday afternoon, fading into evening. We appreciate your time very much. Thanks for letting us be on board with you. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula. They have their 7th annual snow day on Saturday, December 7th. Just under a month from now. Don't worry about Black Friday, people. You got the biggest sale you're going to ever find and the only one you'll ever need at Kurtz Polaris, 10 to 4, Saturday, December 7th. You want to listen live? You're not in the market? Maybe it's just easier on your device. You listen on the stream. The stream's available at 1029ESPN.com. There, you listen live thanks to Opportunity Bank. Your local bank, your opportunity. If you want to call, 329-1899 is the phone number, 329-1899, that phone number. All guests join us via the Rankage Brothers RV phone line. Let's take a look at what we got in the show today. We start, as we do every Monday, the first hour of every show every Monday, the Montana Football Hour, presented by Lithia Ford. We will talk Cats, we will talk Grizz, 2 big wins for both teams, moving them ever closer and perhaps all the way into a playoff scenario. We will assess that as well as these 2 games in and of themselves. The Montana State Bobcats rushed for the 3rd most yards in school history, and they also had 3 different defensive players score touchdowns on offensive plays. So, okay, that's how you get it done there. Montana came in, went down early, was down 10-0 after 3 first-quarter turnovers, and then went on a 42-7 run and just boat raced the Idaho Vandals in Washington Grizzly Stadium on Saturday. So we'll get into all of that stuff. We also, the top of the hour, going to have our good buddy Mike Dugar on, talk to us about the Seattle Seahawks. He covers the Seahawks for The Athletic. Seattle, San Francisco. This is one of the games of the year in the NFL thus far. The 8-0 San Francisco 49ers hosting the division rival, second place standing right now, 7-2 Seattle Seahawks. It's a massive game for both teams, a bigger game, frankly, for Seattle than it is for San Francisco, but big for both of them. So we will have that. We also will get you caught up on what went on in the state quarterfinal football playoffs. We are headed into semifinal weekend, so we'll set you up with all of that. So there you go. That is our show outlook. It is brought to us by Shine Auto Detailing. This week and this week only, half off headlamp restoration. Normally $70, you get it this week for $35. Shine Auto Detailing, MissoulaAutoDetailing.com. Colter, hi, how are you? Good to see you. We want to start today just quickly by acknowledging and saying thank you. It is Veterans Day, and we want to add ours to the myriad of voices out there offering our appreciation, our thanks to all the servicemen and women and their families for what they do and continue to do in what is a choice. A service choice in this nation, not mandatory service. These folks out there on their own making a decision to do that, and we appreciate them and what they do very, very much. And today in particular, we acknowledge that and say thank you on a Veterans Day. Colter, it is time for the Montana Football Hour, presented by Lithia Ford of Missoula, and 2 huge wins, a huge obviously any win you get is a big one, especially as the season continues to get. We're just 2 weeks away from the end of this thing in the regular season, but huge also just on the scoreboard. I mean, just dominant wins from both schools, 40s to teens. Anytime you get that sort of spread, it's a good thing. Montana State kind of expected to do it, I guess, in a way when you go to Northern Colorado. We talked last week about how sometimes Greeley can jump up and get you, and teams all of a sudden find themselves in a dogfight or even on the wrong side of a game. that they're really the better team and certainly should win. We wondered if that might happen to Montana State. No chance. They got ahead early and ran all over Northern Colorado on Saturday. The Grizzlies did not start well. In fact, started awfully with 3 first quarter turnovers. Couldn't get a point on the board, which is not surprising. The defense able to hold Idaho to just 10 points off of those turnovers, but 10-0. And then here comes Dalton Snead off the bench, ready to go. Goes out there, plays a fantastic game, and the team really turned it around and ended up winning the turnover battle. It's not often you start down 0-3 in the turnovers and come out +1 at the end of the game. But that's what Montana did on their way to a 42-17 win over their number 2 rival, the Idaho Vandals. So that's what happened over the weekend. When you look at the weekend, just kind of again from a broad view, what these wins mean to these two schools and how they came about, your thoughts or what?
Well, Bobby Hauck mentioned in the post-game press conference after the Montana game, he said these two schools have been playing football since 1903. They've played 85 times during the history of the battle for the Little Brown Stein, and Bobby Hauck said, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a year where Montana has beat Idaho as handily as they have the last 2 years.
Right. No, and he's just kind of pointing out the fact that was, a dominant performance by them. Bobby Hauck, in the post-game press conference, his opening comments kind of on how that game went and why he, thought they were able to stay with it. This is what he had to say.
Our defense held the rope for us. We're struggling on offense. With the 3 turnovers in the first quarter, we're lucky we weren't down 28-0 or something. And after we got that fixed, we played really well in all 3 phases, and it was a great win for us. This game's been played 86 times, I believe, since the first time was in 1903. I don't know that Montana's beaten Idaho like we have the last 2 years ever, and that's a credit to our kids and our team and our assistant coaches, because that Idaho team was ready to go. They're well coached, they're tough, they're physical, and if I'm the Idaho folks, I'm pretty proud of Mason Petrino, because he single-handedly kept them in it today. I mean, they put him on his back and he kept him in the game, and it was a nice defensive effort by them. Luther Ellis and Mike Bresky and Vernon Smith and those guys on defense, they did a great job having them ready to play us, and they had us dialed up. And I'm proud of our guys too, because we weathered the storm and then obviously one going away. So I think they have a game bunch, but I think we have a pretty good football team.
Yeah, well, I would say so. I mean, Montana did win going away, and when I think a lot of people might kind of raise their eyebrows at Bobby Hauck's, very, very direct and deliberate praise of Mason Petrino in a game that they lost handily, and he was responsible for all 4 turnovers. That said, the responsibility is not responsible in that he made a mistake every single time. In fact, I mean, he got two fumbles. One was a strip sack from behind that he never saw coming. I mean, that's just a good play by the defensive end. Probably no quarterback's going to hold on to that thing. And the other one, he got hit by Jesse Sims. Probably a lot of people drop a football when Jesse Sims gets into him.
Sort of, but that's like his second career forced fumble, so you can't actually say that.
I understand. Just trying to
you don't need to defend Mason Petrino.
Here's what I'd say. The one fumble by Mason Petrino on the Jesse Sims tackle, you got to protect the ball better. The second interception, that's his bad. It was an absolute overthrow. It also was over at that point. It's the 90 seconds left in the game. They're down 42-17. It's the final drive in a game that's over. And he did make some plays. He also lost Jeff Cotton, their number 1 wide receiver in the second quarter. Andre Carter, their number 1 running back, also goes down in this football game. Yep. And so that's where all of a sudden the onus lies on him. And I would say that 2 of the 4 turnovers and really only 3 turnovers of quote-unquote consequence in terms of when they happen were not on Mason Petrino. The one fumble was. That said, he is a tough kid. He's faster than people think. He moves around better than people think. He's not a Division I quarterback from an athletic, throwing the football stature standpoint, but he is tough. I mean, he's a tough kid who stood in there and, fought fought the fight all day long against a defense that wanted to get after everybody on Idaho, but certainly after him in particular. And I thought that he was fine. Let's put it like this. Mason Petrino probably has played some games where he was pretty responsible for losing the football game. That was not the case on Saturday. Montana just overwhelmed Idaho across the board.
Man, I could argue about this with you forever, because I think that if you have a physically unimpressive quarterback who has 15 turnovers and 9 total touchdowns this season, that it doesn't matter how he performs in an individual game, your team is never going to perform at their highest level because they have no confidence in him. So therefore, his presence in the lineup loses you games. I think that's where we're at with Idaho. I think that the fact that Paul Petrino, I mean, I'm probably being a little harsh here, but Paul Petrino and Mason Petrino spent the entire game when Mason Petrino was not in the game screaming at each other on the sidelines. I don't think it's a coincidence that Idaho committed 14 penalties because of that.
And 5 of them?
5 unsportsmanlike penalties. They got guys thrown out of the game. I mean,
yeah.
As one of our colleagues said, they acted like petulant toddlers.
Yeah.
And that's the impression I got from their sideline. And attitude reflects leadership, and the tone was set from the very beginning. And here's the thing. You look at Idaho's jerseys and their colors and the arena that they play in and the town that the school resides in and all that, and you think, okay, also ran, whatever. It's nothing. It's a 10,000-person college town. It's a terrible arena. It's a wannabe former FBS athletic department that's in shambles. It's a poor coach, all this stuff. You can say all that stuff. At the end of the day, Idaho used to be so good. And so to reconcile yourself with the fact that this is what should be the status quo, it's just not the case. Idaho has had tremendous quarterbacks. It just, even in just my knowledge of following the Big Sky Conference, let's call it 1980 on. I mean, you got the Kamiak Kid and Ken Hobart. You got Doug Nussmeier, John Freeze, Matt Linehan, Scott Linehan. I mean, they've had all-time great quarterbacks at this level of football, and they don't have that now. So I don't want to blame it all on one kid or one family, but make no mistake, I think that Idaho's selling itself short. Idaho, what I saw compared to teams like Southern Utah and Idaho State and Northern Colorado, is way better. They have way more talent.
Yeah.
They just have a couple factors holding them back, and it all stems from the guy that's in charge. That said, Bobby Hauck, sometimes he says things like that, and it might be a little bit of a hyperbole, but it actually was a matter of fact. The Montana won by 21 last year and 25 this year. So the combined margin of victory was the highest in the rivalry during the Big Sky era, since 1963. The last time Montana won so handily, the great stat here, courtesy of our producer, David Graff, 1992 to 1994, Montana won 47-29, 54-34, 45-21. So you have Montana, basically the 93-94 games, that was a combined margin of victory of 44 points, and Montana now a combined margin of victory the last 2 years of 46 points. So actually, Bobby Hauck was correct. In the Big Sky era, it is the most that they've beat the Idaho Vandals. And you can talk about, Montana's surging and Idaho's declining and whatever you want to say, but at the end of the day, that's a school that Montana takes great pleasure in beating. I mean, Bobby Hauck tweeted out a picture Saturday night of his Uncle Tom, who's his father's brother. His father passed away a little while back, but Tom is kind of the matriarch of the Hauck family now. Patriarch, excuse me.
Yes.
And Bobby and Tim, his brother, and then Ryan Tyrrell, their sister's son who plays for the Grizz, and Robbie Hauck, who's Bobby's son, plays for the Grizz. And Bobby just said, 3 generations of Haucks holding the little brown stein. It's a great day to be a Grizzly.
Yeah.
It means a lot to the family. They brought the trophy home.
Yeah.
So it's a huge win for Montana, even if Idaho is declining and whatever you want to say. But I thought that Montana did a great job in several different ways. I mean, they played terrible football in the first quarter.
Really bad.
Turnovers. Idaho had a ton of momentum. And the number one factor that we've seen emerge for this Grizz team is that they don't panic. They stick to the plan. If they have to tweak and alter the plan, it's not this catastrophic seismic shift. A lot of times it's just little things. Or a lot of times, a lot of teams, when you have a hurt quarterback and then you pull the other guy, it can signal just a state of disarray, and that was never the case. Dalton Snead entered the game, promptly leads a quick scoring drive, and I thought Montana won going away. To touch on the Montana State game, too, you asked for just broad thoughts. I thought Montana State did exactly what they were supposed to do in Northern Colorado.
Okay. I did ask for broad thoughts. That was a little while ago, but yeah, no, that's good. We're going to get into the Montana State Northern Colorado game in more specifically in the next break, and they did do what they had to do, and they did it in their their typical atypical fashion, the Cats, but in a dominant fashion on Saturday once again. You mentioned the quarterback situation and Dalton Snead coming into the game. And look, Cam Humphrey comes out, throws an interception on his first pass attempt of the game, throws an interception on a woefully underthrown ball to what was a wide open Sammy Akem for a touchdown if it's on him, and it turns into an interception, which also ends yet another Grizzly drive. And that ended the first quarter, basically. Idaho ultimately did score on that drive, a touchdown, and is up 10-0. And in comes Dalton Snead, number 11. You asked Coach Houck after the game, the post-game press conference, what was the thinking to start Cam Humphrey in the first place, and then why bring Snead in when you did?
Well, like I said last week, Dalton wanted to play a week ago, and we didn't feel like he was ready. He didn't practice on Tuesday, correct? Monday, Tuesday. So we just felt like it was Cam's game to start. Cam has played well, and we're very confident in him. But we did have a plan to play Dalton today, and he knew he was going to play today. So we talked about it during the week, if we would have a diagnosed plan, or if just go by feel. And Rosie and Brent really felt like I should just do it by feel and tell him when I want him to go. So felt like that was the right time, and I was proud of him for coming in and doing a nice job. And then good job by Cam coming back and finishing it off.
Doing it by feel is one thing. It probably didn't have to wait too long to feel out that it wasn't going Cam Humphrey's way. I mean, he goes 6 for 10, but has 2 interceptions, no touchdowns, and particularly the last throw that he made was just poor. I mean, it was just really bad. And I don't know, he had come in for 2 weeks and played really well, played outstanding. I mean, he was next level in the Portland State game. And then, Idaho clearly had game plan for him on one level, but also he just didn't look good, didn't have it really ready to go. And I don't know if part of that is because he knew Dalton was coming in at some point, or if it's just some days are better than others. But it was a pretty obvious point, if Dalton Snead was going to play, that's when you bring him in. The thing that I found very interesting out of this is that it was in place that he was going to come in, according to what Bobby Houck said. And I think that is not something that I had thought. I thought that this was a situation where maybe, he's well enough to play, but we don't want to play him, if we don't have to. And then, okay, we're in a tough spot. We got to do this. We got to see if he can go and if he can do it. By the way, Dalton Snead very much could do it. 17 of 27, 241 yards, had the one big touchdown on a broken coverage that he said anybody in this room could have thrown that touchdown to Samori Toure, and he's probably right about it. But nonetheless, was a big spark. I thought an emotional boost to this team, and played really well and got him going. He was also asked in this press conference what it was like to not be able to play for the last couple of weeks.
Really makes you appreciate the love for the game, when you can't go out there. But I've got such great teammates and coaches around me that they're out there, hey, man, we're going to go do this together. And it's a whole team sport, whole team game. And like I said, I'm just happy to be out there.
So, yeah, I mean, it do get a little, perspective of something like that, sitting on the sideline and got the bum foot, bum ankle, and then you go out there and get a play in that opportunity and make the most of it. And then he went out again, Coulter, and we have not heard what exactly it was that he went down with. It looked like it might have been just a really legit, I mean, he got hit kind of on the back and the side, and maybe it was maybe it's a rib thing, maybe a bruised rib or something like that, or maybe just a really, really bad, like, get the air knocked out of you type of deal. They had the lead well enough in hand at that time. They bring Cam Humphrey back in, and then they just run the doggone football all over the place. Couple other things. 101 yards on the ground for the Grizzlies. 5, though, rushing touchdowns. 2, the first 2 ever for the career of Nick Osmo, and 3 for Marcus Knight, who was not seeing a lot of playing time after he fumbled on the 2-yard line. But he got back in and paid off a number of drives. Touchdowns 15, 16, and 17 on the season for Marcus Knight in this football game. Marcus Knight is the best running back on this football team. But he has a propensity to put the ball on the ground, and that's just simply unacceptable to Bobby Howe coaching staff and him himself. Where are you at with Marcus Knight? What do you think about him as the lead back for this team, and what do you think about Nick Osmo as the relief?
It's a really interesting question, actually, because I think that, first of all, Bobby Howe is not scared whatsoever that if you do not hang on to the football, especially in the red zone, he does not care if you are the best running back in the country. He will bench you. He benched Marcus Knight for the rest of the first half after he fumbled.
Yes, he did.
Straight up.
Didn't play again.
Knight came back in the second half, and they used him in the second half to sort of loosen Idaho's defense. I thought the 2 swing passes they threw to Knight on the first drive really helped loosen Idaho's defense a little bit. But then it was Osmo getting their carries between the tackles, and then they got Knight back in because they didn't want to wear out Osmo, because Idaho is really physical in the front seven. But this game was so interesting because Montana turns the tables, and they go on this 28-0 run, and they're up 28-10 after trailing 10-0. But then Idaho had their only good drive of the second half, and they cut it to 28-17, about 14 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And you're thinking, okay, it was a new life for Idaho. And Montana then closed the game in dominant fashion, and I thought that there was a lot of vitriol behind the way Montana closed the game. I thought that they didn't want to talk about this in the post game. Cy Sermon got asked a question about it. Cy Sermon, Montana's senior center, he was going blow for blow with number 55 on Idaho, and it got to the point where that number 55 on Idaho took 2 different swings at him and actually threw a punch and got a personal foul, one of 5 or maybe even 6 personal fouls called on the Vandals on Saturday. Raymond Crawford is number 55's name. But, I thought that Idaho's lack of discipline, I thought how much – I love verbal combat. I love trash talking. That Idaho was exceeding and egregious in the way that they talk trash. I thought they celebrated inconsequential plays to the point where they lost focus. I thought on one play that Trey Walker – Idaho was covering the slots with linebackers during a portion of the third quarter, and on one play, Trey Walker, who's an outstanding inside linebacker, was covering Jerry Lou McGee, and Dalton Snead just barely overthrew him. And Trey Walker just jawed at Jerry Lou McGee for walking back to the huddle for a good 25 yards, and it was just stupid. And then he gave up a pass right over the middle of the field on the very next play. To me, that's just such a lack of focus. But then when Nash Fouch got that interception, I thought that was a dirty hit, the way that they took him out at the knee. I mean, Contrell Haywood went for Nash Fouch's knee on the backside. I thought it was a horrendously dirty hit. And I thought that Montana would have been satisfied winning that game 35-17, and I thought that they actually went and got a fifth rushing touchdown and went up 42-17 purely for an exclamation point, purely despite the Idaho Vandals.
Here's the thing, is Idaho got up in this game early and was up for this game emotionally, and they came to play. They wanted this football game. But when it went south on them and went sideways and it became clear that this wasn't going to go their way, they reacted the way you might expect them to react. There was no recircling of the wagons. You know, when the first card falls, the whole house of cards falls in, and it was both emotional and physical and football in every possible way. I mean, there was just no chance that they were going to be able to do, anything after they lost their mental sort of focus for what the football game was. Because look, I mean, you're getting embarrassed. You're getting embarrassed in a rivalry game against a team, and still, frankly, at a level that you just think that you're better than. And I'm not saying that anyone or all these people think this explicitly. You know what I mean? But I think there is still. We talked to Mike Dugar on Friday. When he found out, we were talking, kind of off the record, but when he found out that Montana was at that time a 17, later became a 19-point favorite in this game, he was stunned. He's like, he just started laughing. He couldn't believe that Idaho would be a 3-score dog to any team at the, quote, FCS level. Now, people who follow the Grizz follow Idaho. It's not a surprise at all. And guess what? Montana covered. But that is sort of, I still think, a little bit of the carryover, the hangover of having been in the FBS and now not being anymore. Last thing I want to touch on in this game, Coulter, is not about this game, but it's about the day on Saturday. I was stunned at how few people were at this football game. I mean, there was 4,000 empty seats, something like that. You told me that this was the second lowest attended game in terms of announced attendance in 5 years.
I actually only went back 4 years. So since 2015. So I just basically looked at the three Bob Stitt seasons and Bobby Houck.
Now let's be very clear. I think that there were
regular season games.
There were a couple of games. There were a couple of games towards the end of Bob Stitt's tenure where the announced attendance, which is always a lie, was a laughable lie. Where it was, okay, fine, you sold 2,000 seats to boosters, 4 of them, or corporations or whatever. There were certainly games at which less people actually have been there. But when you're talking about what was a number 6 team in the nation, now number 5 team in the nation, one loss in the Big Sky Conference, rolling and going against what has been a traditional rival for the first time in 16 years, I absolutely expected Washington Grizzly to be full and to be loud, and it was neither by Washington Grizzly standards. It certainly wasn't full. It got loud at times, but I don't have an explanation. I mean, you can talk to me about hunting season. You can talk to me about whatever you want to talk to me about.
The weather was nice, too, though.
Beautiful day. Perfect. For November, it doesn't get better. Does not get better.
Montana's number 6 in the country coming in that game.
So I don't know. I'm still really blindsided by this. I don't have a full explanation. Now, I've been talking to some people who are like, listen, you know how much it cost to go to a game in 2005? Do you know how much it cost to go to a game in 2019? A lot. And so, it's still Montana. It's still a working, class state and so whether people have been priced out at some level and whatever, I don't know. But I was absolutely amazed when I walked into the stadium and looked around at how few people, how many empty seats were there. I mean, look, plenty of programs that you put 22,000 people in there and you feel really, really good about it. But in this particular game, I was really surprised at it, really.
Student section has been pretty full at the beginning of games and just cavernous during the second half of games. I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of people that jumped off the bandwagon and I think probably are regretting it. I think if this trend lingers into next year, when people have a full off season, it's clear that Montana is on the way back. You asked me in the post game, is Montana a national elite team? They're not yet, but I do think that they have the potential to be again. And that's the first time I would have said that in a little while. And I know some people around town that canceled their season tickets the last couple of years that I know regret it. And so maybe those guys and those folks will come back. Who knows? But it's a trend around the country, and it's definitely one worth analyzing, but I don't think anybody has a definitive answer.
Montana State dominated Northern Colorado 45-14. They ran for the 3rd most yards in program history. Northern Colorado, not good, but Montana State still doing what they were supposed to do, handling their business easily for a second straight week. We'll talk about this game. You'll hear from Jeff Choate and Troy Anderson right after this. It's the Montana Football Hour presented by Lithia Ford. Hey, I want to tell you about the Silver Slipper. At the Silver Slipper, it's all about great food, tasty beverages, and their urge to have a good time. Whether you're looking for an affordable family meal or a late-night game of poker, the Silver Slipper has what you're looking for. Right now, Silver Slipper is your football headquarters with a free shuttle to every home Grizz game, 56 televisions to watch sports on, drink specials every day, a full liquor store, Tarantino's Pizzeria, and the friendliest staff in town. Silver Slipper has all you need to watch your favorite games. Visit thesilverslipperlounge.com for more info and stop by today to see why the Silver Slipper is one of Montana's best-kept secrets across the street from Super Walmart on Brooks. Thank you for making Polaris America's best-selling off-road brand. During the Polaris Great American Thank You event, financing is as low as 3.99% and rebates go as high as $3,500. Live life wide open in a high-performance RZR. Tackle everything from mountains to mud holes in a legendary Sportsman ATV. Get more done with a hard-working Ranger or elevate your adventure in a versatile Polaris General. Now is the time to get the season's best deals on America's best-selling off-road lineup with financing as low as 3.99% APR for 36 months and rebates up to $3,500 during the Polaris Great American Thank You at Kurtz Polaris, 2904 West Broadway in Missoula and Highway 83 in Sealy. Get to Kurtz Polaris on Saturday, December 7th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. for Kurt's 7th annual snow day. This is the biggest sale of the year, one day only, Saturday, December 7th at Kurtz Polaris in Missoula. Kurt's 7th annual Snow Day. Rebates valid in U.S. through 12/31/19 on new 2016 through 2020 vehicles. Subject to credit approval. Offers vary by model. See dealer for details. Always wear a helmet. Never drink and ride.
Hi there. It's Les Schwab Tires. Well, more like Les Schwab alignment and brakes and shocks and wheels and tires. Now, some tire places don't offer all that. They only sell tires. And we're not sure how they sleep at night because all those services affect things like steering and stopping. That's why we offer more than tires to help keep you safe. Stop by or book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
At Florence Coffee Company, we invite you to try our extraordinary drip coffee. Our drip coffee is made from our signature blend, which is a medium roast, bold but very smooth, representing Indonesia, Central, and South America. Florence Coffee Co. promises satisfaction in every cup of this perfect blend of the highest quality beans available. Stop by and try a cup today and visit us at florencecoffeeco.com.
Designed to save lives and prevent crashes, the Montana Department of Transportation is busy designing the Stevensville Safety Improvements Project on Highway 269, one of Montana's most dangerous highways. The community is warmly invited to ask questions, share thoughts, and meet the design team, as they will be working for Morningstar Caffeine and Cuisine in Stevie from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. on Thursday, November 14th, 21st, and December 5th. Call the project hotline for more details at 406-207-4484.
Hey there, Colter Nuanez from your favorite daily sports talk show, Two Tell Nuanez. I'm here with Tom from Aspen Sound. Tom, last winter I got a sweet car starter. It's something I think everybody needs.
You know, Colter, I couldn't agree more, and my wife sure thinks so too. We've got a lot of sweet deals. We actually have it capable now where you can start it from your phone from anywhere you'd like. We have two-way remotes that'll confirm to you the vehicle started all the way down to our basic package starting at just $299 installed. Come on in and check us out.
Feel the music at Aspen Sound.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tutel, Colter Nuanez. Here's some sports news for you. The playoff picture is becoming more clear in the Treasure State and around the Big Sky Conference after the Grizzlies and Bobcats each won in convincing fashion. Montana used yet another second-half surge and a spark provided by the return of quarterback Dalton Snead to dispatch of rival Idaho in the battle for the Little Brown Stein. Montana State piled up the third most rushing yards in program history in a decimation of Northern Colorado in Greeley.
The Grizz moved to 8-2 this season by beating Idaho for the second straight year, this time 42-17. That win, combined with last season's 46-27 victory, gives UM the largest two-year margin in the 85-game series that dates back to 1903. The host Grizz turned the ball over 3 times in the first half, falling behind 10-0, but head coach Bobby Houck inserted Snead under center in place of Cam Humphrey, who started the last 2 weeks with Snead out with an injury. Snead sparked Montana on a 42-7 run to end the game.
In Greeley, Montana State gashed Northern Colorado on the ground, rushing for 451 yards, the third most in school history, on their way to a 45-14 win. Logan Jones finished with a game-high 122 yards and a touchdown as 11 different Bobcats registered rushes. Even middle linebacker Callahan O'Reilly got in the mix, taking a fake punt 73 yards for a score. The Bobcats are now 7-3 this season with a matchup at UC Davis coming up.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Aspen Sound.
It is the Montana Football Hour. It is presented by Lithia Ford of Missoula, and it is Tutel Nuanez along with you. Thanks for being with us. ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris Studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula. December 7th, their 7th annual Snow Day. Get in there. One-day sale, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Biggest sale of the year. One day only, December 7th at Kurtz Polaris. Colter, Montana State hammered Northern Colorado 45-14, as you just heard in the read, 451 yards on the ground. And are you ready? Not one, not two, but 3 defensive players scored touchdowns in offensive situations. This is not like pick 6 touchdowns. These are offensive plays that the defense goes ahead and scores on. They could pretty much do whatever they wanted to in this game, but Again, Northern Colorado, they're not a good football team. This is what Montana State was supposed to do. But what you're supposed to do and doing it are two different things. They did it.
You can say Northern Colorado's bad. They are. And you can say that it doesn't take schematic adjustments and things like that. You don't need to out-strategize them. You just need to go and do it. That's true to a certain extent, but rushing for 250 yards in a game is a dominant effort. Rushing for 300 yards is an excellent effort. They rushed for 451 yards.
It's incredible.
This is the third most in program history. And again, you can say they're beating up on a bad team, but what Lane Sumner said in the postgame, Montana State, one of their many running backs, he said, we knew that they couldn't really run it up the middle, or that Northern Colorado was pretty good in the middle of their defense. That's true. Luke Nelson's one of the better inside linebackers in the league. The Gonzalez kid is one of the better D tackles in the league. So they do have some talent up the middle of their defense. And so Montana State figured we got to soften the edges, and then we can get some gash plays. And that's what they did. They used an array of playmakers to, I should say array of athletes, because I don't know if you can call these guys playmakers yet. Montana State's really using their whole roster. Everything with the Cats is a double-edged sword, right? On one hand, you can say, man, these guys use so many of their dudes. How impressive. On the other hand, you're like, well, is that necessary? Why don't you just give the ball to all your best dudes? They are sometimes so creative. They're sometimes so simplistic. I think that the number one issue facing the Cats is when they're the underdog against a definitively better team, they play well. When they are the absolute favorite and they're playing a downtrodden team like Southern Utah or Northern Colorado, they destroy them. And when they're playing like opponents or it's a big conference game, they put themselves in this box and their creativity goes away. So I just don't understand why they don't do this kind of stuff all the time. But I guess that's probably what they're trying to figure out too. But at the end of the day, here they are. They're 9-3 in November games under Jeff Choate. They're 2-0 in November games this season. They're 7-3 and on the brink of a playoff spot. You can only play who's on your schedule. The last 2 weeks have been cupcakes for Montana State. They still won both games in absolutely convincing fashion, and they set themselves up for where we thought they would be going into this portion of their schedule.
Troy Anderson had a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown to a defensive lineman because, of course, he did. That's what he does. And he had this to say, particularly about his touchdown, his Tebow-like jump pass to defensive lineman Jason Scrimpos.
Yeah, I know. Scrimpos, we've had it marinating for a while. And so, yeah, it was wide open. I just had to almost threw it out the back of the end zone, but luckily I didn't, and he came down with it.
What did you think of his celebration?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure Coach Choate's not too happy about that. I just kind of, go with the flow.
Just kind of go with the flow. That's it.
Imagine if Troy Anderson was mean. He'd be playing at Utah, not Montana State.
No doubt. This is what Jeff Choate had to say about Troy coming in and kind of the Troy wrinkle.
When Troy goes in the game, it's no mystery as to what's going to happen, I think, by and large. And so oftentimes those guys that are responsible for the tight ends are going to, get their eyes in the backfield, and that's going to open up an opportunity. And Scrimpos is not a small target, so we kind of owed him one. We missed one in the SEMO game early in the year, so but I didn't know his plan on the celebration, or I wouldn't have called it. So.
So what? He just spikes the ball. He does the Rob Gronkowski spike. It gets flagged, and Jeff Choate, of course, gets very upset with that for doing it. First of all, why is this a penalty? It's just
it's a waste. It's a waste of time to talk about it. It's a waste of time to talk about it.
Spiking a football. Leave him alone. My goodness, the entire football team in the NFL is taking pictures in the end zone after any, sack or whatever, which is also somewhat tiresome to me at this point.
Here's where most fans and people that love sports go awry when they're complaining about officiating. They complain under the lens that officials are biased, that they're trying to screw over my team that I'm rooting for, that someone's getting homered. In reality, 95% of poor officiating is not biased. It's just bad. Like in the Montana-Idaho game, those guys didn't spot the ball correctly until the third quarter. Seriously, they did not spot. They spot the ball. Once every 10 plays, they spotted the ball wrong. How?
They
spotted the ball wrong twice in the first quarter. I made a note of this just so I could talk about it on the show. They spotted the ball twice in the first quarter, a yard behind where a guy ran out of bounds. There's no more definitive thing than when you see the guy's foot hit the sideline at the 35 and you spot it on the 36. How? It's amazing.
I don't know.
It's amazing. Anyways, back to this Montana State, Northern Colorado effort. After the Jason Skrempos touchdown, you're saying, okay, the Cats are pulling out all the trick plays again. Here we go. And then Montana State gets so cute that they decide they're going to run. First of all, they give up a big punt return. Then they had a muffed punt snap. Then they decided they were going to punt with Tucker Rovig on a quick kick play that resulted in a 2-yard punt. And then they still get a stop, and they get the ball back after that whole calamity of errors. And then they try to run a screen pass, and the ball gets tipped at the line of scrimmage right into a defender's hands. Pick 6, touchdown Northern Colorado. And you're sitting here thinking, all right, this game is 10 minutes old. You already have 2 egregious special teams errors. You already have had your starting linebacker throw a touchdown to your starting defensive tackle. You've already used your quarterback to punt the ball, and he's already thrown a pick 6. Maybe is Montana State just going to screw this thing up? And then they just straight went ground and pound and ran for 400 yards and closed the game out.
This is my question for you. Is Montana State's offense innovative or gimmicky?
I think it all has to do with the confidence of their coaching staff in the opponent that they play. I think that every coach around the league would tell you that Montana State's the single hardest team in the league to prepare for. Is that a good or a bad thing? That's the question.
Well, it's a good thing in that. I mean, that is a good thing. There's no question if that's
defensive
a good or bad
coordinators stay up later at night and do more work to prepare for Montana State than any other team in the league.
Right.
Does that mean they're the best offense in the league? No, but they just have the hardest one to prepare for.
Okay, that's fine, but that is a good thing. Okay, if you're hard to prepare for, that's what you want. That's what you want to be able to do. But my question is, look, I don't know. I don't know enough about this stuff to say. But Matt Nagy, right there in Chicago,
yep.
One of the worst offenses. They're bottom 5 in the league in basically every single category. He's supposed to be this offensive guru with the big quarterback that they draft number 2 overall and everything else.
Yep.
And basically the scuttle is, look, he came in, he had some stuff. Nobody'd really seen it before. They do pretty well with it. But then it's mostly, quote, gimmicky, a.k.a. once you figure it out, you've kind of solved the riddle. Now, Montana State, like you said, they got their quarterbacks punting the ball, their linebackers throwing the ball, their defensive ends are catching the ball, and it's all well and good if it works, but also when it doesn't work, you just look like, well, what is it that you're actually doing? When you have a great offensive line, an excellent stable of running backs, why do you overcomplicate it with all this other stuff? And on one hand, if it's complicated insofar as it's unique and it's new and people won't be able to be ready for it, or it's innovative or it's hard to prepare for and it works, and that's great. Also, if you're not doing the thing that is just guaranteed to get you 4 yards, why? Why don't you just do that? And they do that too. Like, it's not an either or type of deal, but I mean, the first play of the game 2 weeks ago, 4 guys lined up in a line under the center. Okay? Now, it's certainly unique. Football, it's certainly different. And by the way, that first play of the game, I think, netted them 12 yards and a first down. So great. Good for you. But also, I think that there's times where you do overcomplicate yourselves and you don't just stick with the thing that you do well, because running, quote unquote, running the football is there's a million ways to run a football, okay? And if you want to do it in a way that's 11 different players are running the football so that you can mess with the minds of the defense and the defensive coordinators and all that, okay. But also, if you got 2 great running backs and an awesome offensive line, do you need to do all that? Is that all, strictly speaking, necessary? I don't know the answer.
I don't think they have any great players on offense. I think they have a whole bunch of pretty good players. I think you have to use it in synchronicity to get it done. Isaiah Infante is a great player. He hasn't played this year. So that's irrelevant. Logan Jones has almost 700 yards rushing this year. He's got 3 different 100-yard games. Logan Jones is like a 50-yard per game running back, but you can get him a 55-yard run every game if you got the defense's head spinning by running all the jet sweep motions and stuff like that. When you give Kevin Castles the ball on a reverse, when you give Tyrone Marshall the ball on a jet sweep, now Logan Jones can gash you for that 50-yard run. Now Lane Sumner can get that 50-yard run. I think if you're going to run just power and counter, Logan Jones and Shane Perry and Lane Sumner can't do that. They could do it every once in a while, but they can't do it like Josh Davis at Weber State. So I do think you have to scheme it up a little bit. I do think Montana State makes it a little bit too complicated at times. I would also just like to see them run the complicated, innovative, and creative stuff they have against a really good team. I want to see it this weekend.
Yeah.
Because running it against Southern Utah when you're already up 4 scores is one thing. Can you do it on the road against a previously ranked UC Davis team? We'll see.
One more quickly for you from Jeff Choate. He was asked, was getting 3 defensive players a touchdown the plan coming into this game?
I think we do a good job of using our entire roster to benefit us, and certainly Troy's a big piece of that. But Callahan on the fake punt, that was it was designed to get a first down, not a touchdown. And I did call him out on his speed earlier in the week, and I think that he wanted to show he had a little bit more than I might think he did. And so great job by him executing that.
And Callahan O'Reilly's touchdown, 73 yards on a fake punt, and then we talked about the Scrimco's touchdown from Troy Anderson. And then, of course, Troy Anderson, he's not truly a defensive player scoring. He's an everything player scoring, and you actually expect that, of course, out of Troy Anderson. Nonetheless, 45-14, Montana State on the road next week at UC Davis in a massive, massive game for them. They're at 7 wins in a 12-game season. Probably got to get to 8 to get to the postseason. They can get this one, and I think it takes a little bit of pressure off what will certainly be the highest pressure game in a week and a half. Well, what is it, 12 days to the Cat Grizz football game. Stutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. It is the Montana Football Hour. It is presented by Lithia Ford of Missoula. Lithia Ford, right now, 0% for 72 months on the 2019 Ford F-150. The Ford F-150 makes tough tasks look easy, whether it's working on the job or heading out on a weekend of recreation. Check out the all-new Ranger as well, tested under more extreme conditions than you will likely ever encounter. Set a date for your next adventure. The Ranger is ready to get you there. Lithia Ford, across from Super Walmart on Brooks, has a huge inventory of new and used cars and trucks. Visit LithiaFordMissoula.com for more information. Search new and used inventory, financing specials, and get yourself in a Lithia Ford today. Lithia Ford is an official sponsor of the Montana Grizzlies and Tutel Nuanez Montana Football Hour.
It's a rite of passage, that first bank account. Explore the great options for your young adult with a visit to Farmer State Bank, online at farmersebank.com or in person at any of our 9 locations in western Montana. Our checking and savings accounts are designed to fit any lifestyle and budget, with the flexibility, innovations, and security today's consumers demand. Start out right with Farmer State Bank, your Montana bank since 1907. Member FDIC.
Alpine Touch has been part of the fabric of Montana for more than 60 years. Decades ago, Russell Street started selling his touch of magic in whitefish. Years later, Alpine Touch's all-purpose seasoning remains a favorite. It's tailgating season, and there's no better way to spice up your grill before a Grizz game than with Alpine Touch. Go to alpinetouch.com now and use the checkout code ESPN10 for a 10% discount on your order. Alpine Touch is here to keep your mouth watering all football season. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
Imagine the sacrifice, the time away from family and friends. The Montana Club would like to say thanks for the many sacrifices our veterans and their families make every day at home and abroad by inviting all veterans and active military to enjoy 50% off all entrees this Veterans Day. The Montana Club looks forward to the opportunity to show their appreciation to all veterans. November 11th, the Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
There's a saying, opportunity never knocks twice. When you're ready to take advantage of your next opportunity, look to your local bank. Opportunity Bank of Montana. Opportunity Bank offers options for mortgage loans, small business loans, equipment financing, agriculture, and more. Our experienced team can provide solutions to help you welcome your next big opportunity. There's nothing like the feeling of progress. So let's get started today. Come see us at your local Opportunity Bank of Montana. OpportunityBank.com, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
You've been auditioning at the dinner table for years. Are you finally ready to hit the stage? Arts Missoula and ASUM are teaming up again to showcase the best of the region's high school talent at First Night Spotlight. Audition at Hellgate or Big Sky after school on December 2nd and 5th, respectively. Or for Sentinel, Willard, and surrounding schools, tryouts will be held 11:30 a.m. Saturday, December 7th at the UC Theater. The best of the best will be invited to perform live on New Year's Eve. To sign up for First Night Spotlight tryouts, go to artsmissoula.org.
Tutel and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Welcome back to Montana Football Hour. Tutel and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Great to be with you. Broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. And remember, December 7th, the 7th annual snow day, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., the biggest sale of the year, one day only at Kurtz Polaris in Missoula, Saturday, December 7th. The Montana Football Hour presented by Lithia Ford of Missoula rolls on. And Coulter, the move to bring in Dalton Snead off the bench and play him in place of Cam Humphrey. Look, if he's available to play, that's obviously the place to do it. You've turned the ball over now 3 times. 2 of those were interceptions, one of which was pretty egregious by Cam Humphrey. That said, the idea that Dalton Snead was available but not starting, it sort of had a weird look to it, and I guess I buy the explanation that Bobby Houck gave after the game, which was effectively Dalton Snead was going to play in this game at some point. We had already set it up that way. He didn't practice on Monday or Tuesday, so he didn't have the full install. Cam had it, so we wanted to start with Cam. Cam had been playing well. Let me ask you this, though. If Cam Humphrey comes in and plays really well in that game and has 2 touchdowns instead of 2 interceptions, and it's 14-3, does Dalton Snead play in the game on Saturday?
I think the most essential part about playing quarterback at the college level, especially in rivalry games, is confidence. I think it has almost nothing to do with your operation. Your confidence is going to impact your operation.
Right.
But to me, Cam Humphrey looked skittish against Eastern Washington, and then he kind of settled in. He looked absolutely confident and lights out against Portland State. He was never scared, even though Montana was losing at halftime of that game. Cam Humphrey was throwing the ball down the field. He was making his reads. Even if the stats, he was 21 of 29 for 200-something yards against Eastern Washington. But he looked, would you agree that he looked a little bit, he was just kind of getting the ball out too quick. He was throwing it really hard.
He looked terrible. Obviously.
Against Eastern, though, I'm talking.
No. Against Eastern,
he was a little
okay,
bit. He was a little skittish, though,
it was his first game. You could sense that. Yes.
And then against Portland State, he looked very confident, right? Very settled in. And then this week, you could just tell he looked. Skittish is the wrong word. He just looked kind of scared.
I don't know if.
I think that
maybe he looked scared. I don't think he even looked scared to me. He just looked bad.
Against Eastern Washington, they knew they were going to run that 3 tight end set, and then he could lean on his run game. Against Portland State, they obviously found something in the defense where they just attacked it and they just threw bombs over the top, and that's what Humphrey's so good at. Against Idaho, there was something that was crossed up because he was making just straight up bad reads, and he had done a good job taking care of the ball, and then he didn't. To me, I guess I think that you had to go with Snead, even if he's not 100%, because you just can't let Humphrey melt down. Because Idaho's their whole formula is to intimidate you.
Here's the thing: Cam Humphrey went 6 of 10. Okay, that's fine. 50 yards. Okay, that's fine. He just had half of his incompletions were interceptions, and the last one wasn't a read. It wasn't anything. It was a straight up, completely underthrow, like an awful ball. And that to me isn't about even something like confidence or whatever. It's just like it wasn't. Maybe it's overthinking it or whatever, trying to place the ball. But he got Sammy Akem by college football standards running free. There were guys. There's a guy above and below Sammy Akem, but they weren't within 10 yards. Well, he let the football go, and Sammy Kim had to come to a complete stop just to try and make a play on the thing, and ultimately couldn't, and it got picked off. And at that point, you go, well, what's going on here? I remember Coulter against Idaho State, 3 years ago was it, that Chad Chalich came in and had 7 touchdowns in that game, and you go, whoa, should Shalich be the quarterback instead of Brady Gustafson? I mean, how great is this kid? And he tore the Bengals, the highest number of touchdowns ever thrown by a Montana Grizzly in a single
7
game. The next week, though, if I'm not mistaken, it was a 0 or a 1 touchdown performance.
They lost
by him.
at Northern Colorado for the first time in program history.
Yes. And just sitting there going, well, how great is this kid? Where did Chad Shalich come from? Why hasn't he been going this whole time? And then the next week you find out, oh, okay. And not that he's not a good quarterback or whatever, but you're going to have inconsistency, especially with a guy who hasn't played a ton. And I think you saw that initially. And the fortunate thing for Montana is that they had Dalton Sneed waiting in the wings. I just don't know. The idea that he was going to come in for sure at some point, I don't buy that all the way. Because if you're ahead by 30, you just don't play Dalton Sneed when he's still recovering and all of that.
I agree.
You play him if you need him because you can, and I do buy that. Obviously, they did. Whether he was prepared to play, certainly appeared to be prepared to play. So that is where I accept most of the answer, but I am selling some of the explanation there, because I think if the game scenario works its way out where you're just rolling, then Sneed isn't going to play. My last question for you on this before we wrap up the Montana Football Hour. Dalton Sneed came in, got a little tweak on the ankle, it looked like on one particular run, was pretty slow to get up, and then ultimately did get knocked out of the game, but not with a foot thing, looked like kind of a mid-body thing, which I don't think is going to be an ongoing issue. But
I think I just got to give my 2 cents just on that element.
Yeah.
It's go time now. I think that the mitigating of the recovery and the return of Dalton Sneed is over.
Totally.
I think that Dalton Sneed is playing unless he's dead.
100%.
I think that he has 2 guaranteed games left in his career. He's playing.
And this is what I want to ask you. Does him playing on Saturday, he was certainly going to play against Weber State, going to start against Weber State. Okay, we get all that. But will he be better or worse for it having played on Saturday?
It's a good question. I mean, I thought that there was a hit somewhere towards the middle to end of the third quarter where it looked like his ankle got tweaked again. And there's so much stuff that's just speculatory. I don't really know. I mean, we've heard that he might have had surgery, the same surgery that Tua Tagovailoa had, which is the new high ankle sprain surgery. They basically put like a tightrope in your ankle/upper leg muscle and helps you heal
through
quicker.
The bone, yeah.
But if you get hit on a surgically repaired wound, it doesn't matter if it re-damages the structure.
We don't know any of that. I mean, all I'm asking is just in general.
We don't know any of that. That's why I'm talking about the confidence of a quarterback. I think that Dalton Sneed's brain is fine. And I think that's why you have to go with him, because I think that Cam Humphrey is good. And I think when Cam Humphrey has a full 9 months of offseason to establish a leadership role and all that, it's all good. But Dalton Sneed is your lone offensive captain. He is your guy. Your team, everybody else on the team is going to sell out for that guy. They love that guy, and so I think that just his presence, you got to just roll with him down the stretch.
I think that him playing physically was not good for him. Excuse me, because if he retweaked the ankle or whatever, but I do think. Excuse me, this happens to me all the time.
You and Bobby Houck. Bobby Houck started his opening statement on Saturday after the game, and he said, "Timeout. Somebody's got to go get me some water. I can't do this. We're on TV. Guys, you have to just bear with me for a minute. Somebody go get me some water." And then they went and got him some water. So you're not alone.
Yeah, I had to restart the press conference. We can restart the show. But what I was going to say is I think it's good for him mentally to have played rather than entering the Weber State without any live action in 3 weeks. Whether it's good for him physically, I guess we'll find out. It is the Montana Football Hour. It is presented by Lithia Ford of Missoula. Thanks for bearing with me on the last 60 seconds of it, which obviously went very well. Hour 1 in the books. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Mike Dugar of The Athletic going to join us. The Seattle Seahawks Monday Night Football coming up at the top of the hour. We will have it for you right here on ESPN Radio in one of the games of the year, frankly, in the NFL, the Seahawks versus the 49ers. He's going to join us to break down this game right after this. Hey, at the Silver Slipper, it's all about great food, tasty beverages, and their urge to have a good time. Whether you're looking for an affordable family meal or a late night game of poker, the Silver Slipper has what you're looking for. Right now, Silver Slipper is your football headquarters. A free shuttle to every home Grizz game, 56 television to watch sports on, drink specials every day, full liquor store, Tarantino's Pizzeria, and the friendliest staff in town. Silver Slipper has all you need to watch your favorite games. Visit the silverslipperlounge.com for more info. Stop by today and see why the Silver Slipper is one of Montana's best kept secrets across the street from Super Walmart on Brooks. Black Friday is coming, and for the hunter or gun enthusiast on your list, the best Black Friday sale is once again at Selway Armory. Selway Armory's annual Black Friday sale is the stuff of legends, with tons of inventory at and even below cost. Put Selway Armory on your schedule and get there this Black Friday and Saturday for the sale of the year on firearms, ammunition, and accessories. Get to the store at 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6 behind IHOP on North Reserve. Selway Armory's Black Friday sale, the best there is.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, who pump it up.
Don't cook dinner. Stop by the Town Pump Deli and pick up a 2-piece chicken and Chojo's with ranch for only $3.49. Want a great beer to go with it? Grab a 12-pack of Modelo for $11.99. Town Pump, right down the road.
If you're looking for a charming neighborhood hideaway, come into Katie O'Keefe's. Located in the corner of the Stevens Center, Katie's has an inviting atmosphere with ample parking and a location that's easy to get to and hard not to love. With drink specials every night of the week, including Tequila Tuesdays and Whiskey Wednesdays, offering $3 premium cocktails. Katie O'Keefe's is the welcoming, warm hangout you've been looking for. Come into Katie O'Keefe's, where the drinks are always cold and the people are always friendly.
Americans waste 3.8 million gallons of gas by idling every single day. Idling for more than 10 seconds actually uses more fuel and produces more emissions than stopping and restarting your engine.
Vehicle exhaust contributes to smog, climate change, and poor air quality, heightening the risk of developing asthma and lung disease. Kids and seniors are especially vulnerable to these health risks.
So next time you're stopped for more than 10 seconds at the train, getting coffee, or picking your child up from school, please turn your vehicle off.
Brought to you by Missoula in Motion.
This is Tom Skerritt for the Borgen Project. Each year, nearly 2 million children die from preventable diseases. Each day, 30,000 people die from hunger. 500 each hour are children. The Borgen Project is turning this around. We need your help. To learn more, go to BorgenProject.org. That's BORGEN project.org.
Have you been hurt or disabled? Are you missing time from work and not sure what to do? I'm attorney Chris Helmer, and Clark Fork Law Offices in Missoula is here to help. Our team specializes in worker compensation, personal injury, and Social Security disability. We fight for the benefits you deserve. Call Clark Fork Law at 728-0168 for a free consultation or visit clarkforklaw.com. Again, 728-0168.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tutel, Colter Nuanez. Here's some sports news for you. The playoff picture is becoming more clear in the Treasure State and around the Big Sky Conference as the Grizzlies and Bobcats each won in convincing fashion over the weekend. Montana used yet another second-half surge and spark provided by the return of quarterback Dalton Snead to dispatch of rival Idaho and win the battle for the Little Brown Stein. Montana State piled up the third most rushing yards in a single game in a decimation of Northern Colorado in Greeley.
Grizz moved to 8-2 this season by beating the Vandals for the second straight year, 42-17 this time around. That win, combined with last year's 46-27 win in Moscow, gives UM the largest two-year margin of victory in the Big Sky era, dating back to 1963. The host Grizz turned the ball over 3 times in the first quarter to fall behind 10-0, but head coach Bobby Houck inserted Snead in under center in place of Cam Humphrey, who started the last 2 weeks in place of Snead with an injury. Snead sparked Montana on a 42-7 run.
In Greeley, Montana State gashed Northern Colorado on the ground, rushing for 451 yards, the third most in school history, on the way to a 45-14 win. Logan Jones finished with a game-high 122 yards and a touchdown as 11 different Bobcats registered rushes. Even middle linebacker Callahan O'Reilly got in the mix, taking a fake punt 73 yards for a score. The Cats are now 7-3 with a matchup at UC Davis this week.
This ESPN Sports Center is presented by Clark Fork Law.
2. Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Once again, if you were with us at the top, a happy Veterans Day. We appreciate all the servicemen and women, their families who serve, have served, do serve this country. We appreciate you very much around here. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. Saturday, December 7th, Kurtz Polaris 7th Annual Snow Day, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., the biggest sale of the entire year, one day only. It's Saturday, December 7th. Make sure you get there. If you missed anything in the first hour, check it out on the podcast. The podcast available wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to the Tutel Nuanez podcast. Subscribe to it, rate it, review it. We appreciate it. It's brought to us by the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. If you want to call, 329-1899, the phone number. All guests join us via the Raggage Brothers RV phone line. And if you would like to listen live, you go to the website, 1029ESPN.com. There you listen live via the stream, brought to us by Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. We'll have Michael Dugar with us here in just a moment, covering the Seahawks with us for The Athletic and talking about the huge game here on Monday Night Football coming up in just under 90 minutes from now. But want to remind everybody, here in about 20 minutes or so, we are going to give you a full breakdown of all that took place in the quarterfinals around the state in the high school football playoffs, and we are down to the Final Four at each class. So we'll go through all of those with you coming up here very, very shortly. Well, we go now to the Raggage Brothers RV phone line, and we welcome in our good friend Mike Dugar from The Athletic. He covers the Seahawks for The Athletic, and the Seahawks, boys and girls, are going to be on here, in just about an hour from now. We'll have the game for you, Monday nighter. The 7-2 Seahawks on the road at the undefeated and NFC West division leading San Francisco 49ers, who are 8-0. Mike, this is a heck of a matchup. This is one of the matchups of the year, as it turns out now. I don't think a lot of people saw San Francisco being unblemished halfway through the season, but also, let's be honest, their strength of schedule isn't all that it could be. Nonetheless, a huge, huge game in the division. Two teams at the top of the division. Just give us the broad kind of 10,000-foot view on this matchup tonight on a Monday night.
Man, this is the best team the Seahawks are probably going to play all year because they didn't get New Orleans with Drew Brees. I still think the Saints are the best team in the league. I think their only loss is to the Rams when Drew broke his thumb, right? And
in that game, right?
What we know about the Rams is that a healthy Drew, they probably beat up on the Rams that day. So I still think the Saints are the best team, but the Niners are right there, man. They've got what the Seahawks would wish they would have, what they've had in the past. Such a scary pass defense, man. They make quarterbacks look so pedestrian. What they did to Kyle Allen, who was on a good streak there before, looking like a rookie. I don't think he's a rookie, but looking like one against them. What they did to Jared Goff, I think they held him under 100 yards passing. Like, say what you want about Goff. I don't think he's very good, but he almost hit the Seahawks for 400, right? And he couldn't throw for 100 against the Niners, man. The pass defense is so scary, and their front four is everything Pete Carroll and Clint Hurt, the D-line coach of Seattle, would want. Well, I think 4 or 5 first-round picks on their front line, and they're just wreaking havoc. Nick Bosa's unfair. They just got so much talent there. They're just so scary. And then on the other side of the ball is probably one of the best offenses in the league with Russell Wilson. Usually when the Seahawks and Niners met, you guys remember in the past, it was like smash mouth football, Harbaugh and Pete Carroll trying to see who could establish the run first. Now it's just like Kyle Shanahan's got to establish the run thing going, and so does Pete, but only one of them has the monstrous defense to back up the ground and pound. The other guy just has a really handsome QB, and then Pete has the best quarterback in the league. So there's a lot going on here, and I can't wait for it to get started, man. I love covering primetime games, man. It's so fun.
A couple of things I want to ask you about what you just mentioned. First of all, Nick Bosa, to me, is not only the front runner for Defensive Rookie of the Year, but perhaps one of the front runners for Defensive Player of the Year. The guy has made as big a splash in the league as any rookie I can remember, especially a guy that plays in the trenches. So what's the scout? How does Seattle go about slowing him down, especially since they have had some injuries on the offensive line as of late?
A lot of it is just trust, too, though. You don't want a guy to get you too much out of your plan. I don't know what jersey number he wears, but when they come to the line, Russ has to know, okay, where is he at? okay, he's there. Okay, let's just make everyone aware. You know, Joey Hunt lets everyone know. But you don't want to be scared of a guy, right? Like, that's the thing. You know, you trust Dwayne over there. Sometimes you're going to have to trust Jermaine over there against him. You know, maybe you send some help when you can, neutralize him in some big situations if you get backed up 3rd 12 or something like that. Make sure you have some time. But, yeah, I mean, you want to avoid him if you can, you know, but you got to trust your guys. You know, you got, as much as I say what the San Francisco D-line is all first-round picks, I'm pretty sure Seattle's front line is all first-round picks as well, with the exception of Joey Hunt, who's a replacement for a second-round pick. So, I mean, you got talent up there too. You just got to trust it, you know. And if you can keep Russ clean, like I think the Cardinals did a really good job of it on that Thursday night game. They kept Kyler Murray pretty clean, or at very least kept him away from Nick Bosa. If you can kind of replicate that and stay away from him in the pass game, then they should be fine. I will note the dude in New England is probably the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year, though. I can't remember his first name. His last name is Gilmore.
Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah, that dude's a killer. And also, Sherm's having a good year, too, actually. Really, really good year with the 3 picks, the lowest passer rating when targeted. But, yeah, then Nick Bosa's right there. No, that kid is, both the Bosa brothers are just they're like the mean brothers from the Mighty Ducks movies. You know what I'm talking about? When there was the Bass brothers? Those dudes are just scary, man.
I want to ask you about the other side, too. You mentioned the ground and pound. Everybody in the NFL now pretty much runs a 2-back system, and they got multiple guys that are going to get carries in the scope of a game. But, you know, the 49ers, it's not only just a 2-back system with Matt Breida and Tevin Coleman, but, I mean, Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson, they both get carries, too. I mean, it's literally a 4-headed monster, and they are so dedicated to it. I mean, Garoppolo, we still don't know if Garoppolo's good or not because he hasn't had to be put in a position to win or fail. So, I mean, how tough is that? I mean, how rare is that, the way that the 49ers run the ball like they do?
Well, you know, it doesn't surprise me too much just because of where Kyle came from, right? Remember that 2016 Atlanta team had the 2-back system with Freeman and Coleman when they went to the Super Bowl and just whiffed. But, you know, they did it because Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman were really, really good backs. They were the type of the backs that, like in fantasy, we just started both. You know, because you knew they were going to run the ball so much and throw it to their backs so much that they would get good usage out of them. So it doesn't surprise me that Kyle's brought that here, you know, and even brought one of the guys with him. And Tevin is kind of doing the same thing. You know, their tight end situation was good at the time, too. Like, Kyle is like a lot of smart coaches. You realize you don't just need a quarterback and, like, big, tall, fast receivers to throw to. No, man, you use every weapon that you can possibly get, you know, and they've got 2 really good backs. I used to cover Idaho. Obviously, you guys know that when I was in the up there in Idaho, and they were in the Sun Belt, and they used to play Georgia Southern, and that's where Matt Breida is from, actually. So I was actually kind of surprised Breida went undrafted. That kid's a baller, man. It's not just that the 49ers are dedicated to running the ball. They got good backs to do it. Like, Breida's a beast.
Mike Dugard joining us. He covers the Seahawks for The Athletic. You can hear him on the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast each week and follow him on Twitter at Mike Dugard. Mike, you when you talk about the defenses, you know, it's not really a comparison. The 49ers, one of the probably 3 best defenses in the league, and the Seahawks, okay, but still trying to figure it out. But I also feel like the inverse of that is exactly true when you talk about the quarterback spot. And as Coulter mentioned, the jury's still out on Garoppolo. The jury is in on Russell Wilson, and he is one of, if not right now, the best quarterback in the NFL. How much of a wash is that when you talk about the great defense versus the great quarterback and then the sort of okay defense against the okay quarterback, although you just highlighted the run game?
Well, I don't think it's a full wash just because I think Russ is far, far, far better than Jimmy. I think he's much better than Jimmy than the Niners defense is better than the Seahawks defense. Like, the Seahawks defense isn't great. Like, they're both kind of like average at the run, Niners and Seahawks. And then the pass rush is elite over in San Fran. It's non-existent. But, like, Russ is not only better, he's just more experienced, too. Like, you're not going to confuse Russell with anything. Like, he may, in one individual play, he may get, like, tripped up by something. Marcus Peters got him on the pick 6 because Marcus Peters is an elite cornerback. But for the most part, Russ has seen it all. He's been through it all. You know, there's no game you'll never see kind of Russ seeing ghosts like Sam Darnold was on Monday Night Football because Russ has seen everything. Like, Russ went toe-to-toe with Belichick a few times, right? Like, and held his own both as a rookie and an older guy. And the reasons why he's so good is just like he's He's able to beat you deep. He protects the ball. He's elusive in the pocket. All those other things, we still don't know if Jimmy G's good. I've actually only watched Jimmy G one time, and it was that Cardinals game. He threw for 4 touchdowns. So I guess in my mind he's good because I've only seen him, be good. But I think the gap between those two is just so crazy, and it's at the most important position on the field. So, if anything, I still give the slight edge to Seattle in that regard because, Russ can legitimately put a game, on his back. He's done it with bad O-line, a run game, no run game, Pro Bowl receivers, no Pro Bowl receivers. Russ has kind of done it in every way. We got to see if Jimmy G can do it.
Mike, the Seahawks are 7-2. The 49ers are 8-0. Seattle's played one more game because the Niners already had their bye. If Seattle loses this game, though, they're 2.5 games behind an undefeated 49er team in their own division. Now, recognizing they do play again in Seattle, how big a game is this tonight for Seattle?
Man, it's so huge. This is basically your playoff seeding right here. If you're Seattle, you win this. You're 8-2. You've already beaten the Niners in their building. You just have that kind of that mental edge over them, because the race for the wild cards would be so tough at 7-3.
Yep.
You're probably going to get 2 teams out of the NFC North. You're probably going to get I would guess it would be the Vikings getting the other wild card. You probably only get 1 team out of the NFC East, probably just the division winner, which will probably be Dallas. But then you can't the Rams aren't just going to go away. You probably only get 1 team out of the NFC South, and that's probably just going to be the Saints. But yeah, basically it becomes you, the Rams, and the Vikings probably, and that's gonna you don't want that kind of that. I mean, you do play those teams again, so that's good, and you play both of them. I actually play the Rams on the road, but you really just don't want to be in that situation, and you don't want it's mental though too. If Sherm gets to the Seahawks head, hey, we own the Seahawks now. I've beaten them twice. Once with Nick Mullins. You just don't want that. You really don't. I mean, I do because I love the pettiness of Richard Sherman Revenge Week. But you really can't. You can't afford to lose this game because there's just too many teams who could just come on the rise. Even Carolina could, get going. Philly could figure it out. That wild card battle gets real tricky if you're sitting at 7-3. You're still in a good spot. Most teams who start 7-3 make the playoffs. But then how confident are people when you get in? Right? You sneak in at 10-6. Who's confident you go to Dallas and win? It could be a first-round exit like last year. If you do that, who's confident you go to New Orleans and win?
Right.
Who's confident you go back to San Fran and win? So it's not only for playoff seeding, it's also for just the confidence meter. If you look bad in this game, maybe if you lose, it doesn't matter. But if you look bad in this game too, it's the season's over, right? No one wants to feel like that, in the second week of November.
Well, you highlighted how big a game this is. Now tell us what's going to happen. The 49ers, a home undefeated 6-point favorite against Seattle. But again, their resume isn't as good as it is, but the eye test can show you everything you need to know. It's a really good football team, and Seattle's a good football team as well. Huge game on Monday night. Who you got?
I think I'm going to take the Niners. I'm going to take the team with the better defense. It's tough to pick against the Seahawks and Russell Wilson because they've just been so good offensively. The problem is I really just don't trust the Seahawks defense when it comes down to it. It's still I think George right now is a game time decision. Kittle, that is, he makes a big difference because the coverage in Seattle has just been so bad. It might not even matter if Jimmy G's good. We know Matt Schaub isn't. He threw for 460. We know Andy Dalton's not good. He threw for 418. Jared Goff's probably not good. He threw for 395. So, if Jimmy G's just all right, he'll be able to move the ball with his tight end and his receiver, Emmanuel Sanders against his defense, even if it stays close because Russ is magnificent. I'll go, let's see. They're going to cover, because they do. I'll say 23-21 San Francisco.
Monday Night Football coming up at the top of the hour right here on ESPN Radio. Right after the show, we'll send you down to Levi's Stadium for the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers. Mike, certainly appreciate you being on with us as always, especially on a Monday. Enjoy the game. I'm pumped up to have you down there. We'll look forward to hearing what it's like there in Levi's Stadium and what promises to be a great game. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having me as always. Yeah, I can't wait for this one. It's going to be fun.
It is going to be fun, no doubt about it. We appreciate Mike Dugar. We'll give you our picks on this game coming up at the end of the show, heading right into it. But next, got to talk a little high school football. You kidding me? We're into the Final Four in the state playoffs, so we'll get to that right after this. Hey, here is your winter driving PSA from Shine Auto Detailing. Winter driving can be dark and dangerous. You know that. Dim, yellow, faded headlights, not good. Not good at all. We've all been there. Well, guess what? Right now, half price headlight restorations. Regularly $70, now only $35 at Shine Auto Detailing. Online at MissoulaAutoDetailing.com. You can just Google it, find them right there. Half price. It'll take less than 20 minutes. It will make your night driving in the winter so much safer when you can see all the light that your headlight illuminates, okay? Get all of the opacity off of the front of the headlight, get it renewed, get it rejuvenated, and make yourself, your family safer, and everybody else on the road for that matter as well. Regularly $70, this week only $35. Headlight restoration from Shine Auto Detailing.
Alpine Touch has been part of the fabric of Montana for more than 60 years. Decades ago, Russell Street started selling his touch of magic in whitefish. Years later, Alpine Touch's all-purpose seasoning remains a favorite. It's tailgating season, and there's no better way to spice up your grill before a Grizz game than with Alpine Touch. Go to alpinetouch.com now and use the checkout code ESPN10 for a 10% discount on your order. Alpine Touch is here to keep your mouth watering all football season. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, pump it up.
Get energized at your local Town Pump. Monster or Reign energy drinks, 2 for $4. And 12 packs of Coke products are only $4.99. Town Pump has everything you need to get you through the day. They're right down the road.
Town Pump, right down the road. Pump it up, oh yeah.
Katie O'Keefe's has been a neighborhood favorite in the corner of the Stevens Center for years. But if you haven't been into Katie's lately, come on in and make sure to turn left. The downstairs bar is completely remodeled with one of the biggest, best spaces anywhere in Missoula to watch games, play games, and hang out with all your friends. Katie O'Keefe's is your horse racing simulcast headquarters in Missoula. Come into Katie's and turn left for cribbage, darts, pool, and much, much more. Katie O'Keefe's, where the cocktails are always cold and the people are always friendly. Hey, it's Coulter, and I'm here with Catherine from The Advocates. If you've been in a car accident or need help dealing with the insurance companies, you should give The Advocates a call. They can tell you if you have a case right over the phone.
That's right. It doesn't cost anything to call, and we'd be happy to talk to you and assess your situation. You don't want to have to deal with contacting the insurance companies and setting up a claim. We can do that for you. We take the hassle out of the process, so you can just focus on getting better.
There you go, folks. If you've been injured in an accident, give The Advocates a call, 406-640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. You deserve The Advocates.
The biggest season in sports is shifting into overdrive, and the Desperado Sports Tavern has the fuel you need to make it to the finish line. By now, you've heard that the Despo serves the best wings around, but did you know they have a full menu with burgers, nachos, chicken strips, sandwiches, cheese sticks, and even steaks? Fill your tank, then wash it down with an ice-cold beverage or two. Keep your head in the game with 32 HD TVs and room for the whole crew. The Desperado Sports Tavern on South Russell across from the Y.
Are you interested in putting solar panels on your roof? Do you want the latest on Montana's renewable energy policies? The Montana Renewable Energy Association is a leading voice for renewable energy, education, and advocacy in Montana. From community-based clean energy events to advocating at the Montana legislature, they work to ensure Montana's future is powered by the sun, wind, and earth. Find out more about MREA and join as a member by visiting montanarenewables.org or calling 406-214-9405.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon. Ryan Tutel, Coulter Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Sports Center. The playoff picture is becoming more clear in the Treasure State and around the Big Sky Conference after the Grizzlies and Bobcats each won in convincing fashion over the weekend. Montana used yet another second-half surge and a spark provided by the return of quarterback Dalton Snead to dispatch of rival Idaho and win the battle for the Little Brown Stein. Montana State, meanwhile, piled up the third most rushing yards in program history and the decimation of Northern Colorado in Greeley.
Grizz moved to 8-2 this season by beating Idaho for the second straight year, 42-17 this time around. That win, combined with last season's 46-27 victory, gives UM the largest two-year margin in the battle for the Little Brown Stein since 1963. The host Grizz turned the ball over 3 times in the first half, falling behind 10-0. But Snead came back in the game, threw a bunch to Samari Torre, 9 catches, 129 yards, and a touchdown. Marcus Knight scored 3 touchdowns on the ground. Nick Osmo scored 2 more touchdowns. Montana ended the game on a 42-7 run.
In Greeley, Montana State gashed Northern Colorado on the ground, rushing for 451 yards, the third most in MSU history, on their way to a 45-14 win. Logan Jones finished with a game-high 122 yards and a touchdown as 11 different Bobcats registered rushes. Even middle linebacker Callahan O'Reilly got in the mix, taking a fake punt 73 yards for a touchdown. The Bobcats are now 7-3 on the season. They have a matchup with UC Davis coming up this weekend. By the way, four Big Sky teams in the top 10 in the nation. How about that? Weber State at 3, Montana at 5, Sacramento State at 6, and Montana State jumping back up into the top 10 at 10. Moving up 2 spots from 12. It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris Studios. Kurtz Polaris, 2904 West Broadway in Missoula. Make sure you go there on Saturday, December 7th, the 7th of December, for their 7th annual snow day, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., the biggest sale of the year, one day only at Kurtz Polaris. Want to remind everybody about social media. You know I love social media. It's my favorite thing. At 1029 ESPN on Twitter, at 1029 ESPN on Instagram, at Gus Tutel on Twitter, and at Skyline Sports MT on Twitter. We got tickets for you. Top 5 matchup in the FCS. The Montana Grizzlies, number 5 in the nation, hosting Weber State, number 3 in the nation, on Saturday from Washington Grizzly. This is the game of the year in the country happening this Saturday at Montana. We got tickets for you. We're going to give them away on Instagram and Twitter, okay? I guess on Twitter primarily. What we want you to do is tweet us your best Grizz picks of the year, okay? We're going to put that out there. We'll collect them, and then on Thursday we will vote on them. We will pick the top 4, and then we will let you vote on the best one, and that will be your winner for Grizz tickets to the Weber State Wildcats. So we'll give you the details on that and put it out on social media here soon. But want to let you know that we got tickets for you, and you want to go follow on Twitter and Instagram at 1029 ESPN. Colter, it's time for our Prep Extra segment. It's brought to us by the Farmers State Bank. Farmers State Bank, your Montana bank since 1907. And we are in to the semifinals coming out of a quarterfinal round of football across the state, the Montana State High School Football Playoffs. Colter, let's start with Double-A, and it went chalk. The top 4 seeds are all winners and into the semifinals. Number 1, Butte. Number 2, Sentinel, both hosting games this weekend.
A little bit ugly for the Sentinel Spartans. Even they were quoted as saying, one of their players was quoted as saying it wasn't pretty, but Missoula Sentinel moves on into the semifinals for the second time in 3 years. So that is
24-14 win over Billings Senior, by the way.
That's a tremendous resurrection of the Sentinel football program by Dane Oliver. There was a moment in time where Sentinel had lost, I think, more consecutive games than any high school program in the country. They tore it down and started running the spread offense out of the shotgun when I was in high school. A lot earlier than a lot of teams in Montana high school football, and they got themselves a couple wins here and there, but still nothing to write home about, and they were on a playoff drought for a really, really, really long time. But now they're one step away from a state championship game appearance, and they have not played in the state championship since 1984. They have not won a state championship since 1972. And the biggest difference here is that a couple years ago when they were in the semifinals, they snuck into the playoffs as the 7th seed. They needed to win late, and that was when it was an 8-team bracket. And then they got Missoula Big Sky in a de facto dual home game. The Eagles were the 2 seed, and the Spartans were a 7 seed. And Levi Janicaro, the great quarterback for Big Sky, now plays for the Montana Grizzlies. He was banged up. And when Elias DeWaters and Rylan Orton, those boys were only juniors, they upset Big Sky.
Yeah, I was at that game. It was a great game. First day of snow, I think, of the year, and cool night. And and Sentinel playing with very little to no pressure. And Big Sky, you could feel, had that tension. And without Janicaro there, we just did.
And Elias DeWaters had a huge game that game too. He plays for the Grizzlies now too. But I think that with Elias DeWaters and Jace DeWalt, who both play for the Grizz now, and Rylan Ort, who now plays for the Bobcats, and those guys pulling off that win as juniors, he thought huge things for Sentinel last year. And Sentinel lost 5 games by
3 points or less,
3, 4 points.
Yes.
I mean, they had like their combined losses were something like 23 or 24 total points. It was unbelievable. They lost on field goals at the buzzer twice. How's that happen? And they lost on a field goal at the buzzer this year too.
They did.
I was a high school team in Montana lose on field goals at the buzzer 3 times in 2 years. That in itself is a complete anomaly. But got to give Sentinel a ton of credit for bouncing back from the disappointments of last year. They parlayed the massive success they had in track. They won their first state track championship in generations in the spring, and that winning attitude is carried on into the fall. I think the addition of Jackson Lee from Flint Creek has been next level. I mean, Jackson Lee is the best player in Class AA this year. He is an outstanding talent, and that has been huge for Sentinel. But they're also just playing lights out defense, man. They have really held teams down. I think Dayton Bay, the quarterback, has been a pleasant surprise as a junior. He's been incredibly accurate. He's taken care of the ball well. And that's the thing. Sentinel always had athletes and they could always score points. They never had any toughness on defense. Now they're really tough on defense. I think that's a credit to Kalen Anderson, the defensive coordinator, who we've had on this show multiple times. He's also a great track coach. And Dane Oliver for sort of rewriting the culture there. So it's a big deal that Missoula is hosting a semifinal game. I was going through even when there's been good Big Sky and in recent years Sentinel teams, the only times that the playoff games have ever been in Missoula has either been when it's been in the first round. The Missoula teams then, if they do win and get to the semis, then they always have to go on the road. And there has not been a Missoula team that's played for a state championship this century. In the 21st century, there's not been a Missoula team that's gone to a Class AA state title game, which is an amazing thing within itself. But now, Sentinel, they have an advantageous draw. It's not going to be easy by any means against Bozeman, but they're on their home field, right. And that's huge for the Spartans.
The Spartans, as you mentioned, playing Bozeman. Bozeman, a 17-7 winner over Helena High in a low-scoring affair in Bozeman last Friday. This game, Friday night, 7 p.m. at Missoula County Stadium, the Spartans and Bozeman. The other half of the bracket, Butte hung up 51 on Kalispell Glacier, and the number 1 seed moves on there after a bye week, so they got rolling in their postseason with ease. And then Billings West, the 4-5 game, you think it's going to be close? Wasn't that close? 48-27.
That was the 3-6 game, actually. The Bozeman Helena High game was the 4-5 game.
Okay. So, but in any case, Billings West beating Helena Capital 48-27, and now Butte will play Billings West obviously in Butte, and Sentinel will play Bozeman. And I will say, if these two teams, by the way, these two matchups, this will be the first time this season neither of these two teams have played each other. Playoffs, anything can happen, but Butte Sentinel was probably the game of the year in Class AA. That was the game that you referenced before. Butte kicked a field goal at the buzzer to win, I believe 39-37 was the final.
39-36, yep.
39-36, okay, and a great football game there. And if it was to come to it, how great a state championship could it be at AA? In Class A,
one more thing, just the Billings West Butte Central game, I think I'd probably put the over-under about 75.
Okay.
Because these two teams have been lighting it up. I mean, Josh Erbacher threw for 405 yards and 4 touchdowns on Saturday for Billings West. They are the defending state champions, the Billings West Bears are, and they have a lot of the key members of that team back. But Tommy Malott and the Butte Bulldogs have been lighting it up as well. Here's a name for you, Taco Dowler, one of Billings West's receivers.
Love it.
He had 2 catches for 129 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's pretty good.
It doesn't get much longer than that, huh?
Yeah, no. And then Zach Tellman also had 3 catches for 121 yards, and Neil Daly had 6 catches for 104 yards. So they had 3 100-yard receivers in high school football in Montana. That's amazing. But the Butte Billings West game is going to be a war. So is the Bozeman Missoula Sentinel game. So Class AA playoffs have been entertaining already, and now we have, in my mind, absolutely the 4 best teams. 3 losses between the 4 of them. We haven't seen either of these matchups yet this year with the expanded state schedule.
Right.
So this will be fun to watch on Friday night.
It went very chalk in Class A as well, and now it gets down to brass tacks. Hamilton beat Billings Central in a rematch of last year's state championship game, which Butte Central won. This year in the quarterfinals, Hamilton getting a measure of revenge, 34-17 the win there. They move on to play Miles City. Miles City hammered Frenchtown 40-3, and this is where the regular season comes into it, because Hamilton lost to Dillon by 1 point. Dillon became the number 1 seed in the West, Hamilton the number 2 seed. As a result, Hamilton has to go the 400 and whatever miles it is to Miles City to play there, whereas Dillon, as they punch their ticket through, they get to host Laurel. And how big a deal is that? I mean, that's a huge deal to have a 10-hour drive or whatever it is, 9-hour drive out there ahead of you to get over to Miles City to play a football game, as opposed to being able to stay, down the Bitterroot Valley and let Laurel or whoever it might be come to you. But Miles City, a very, very good football team, and this is, to me, this is your state championship game. I think the winner of the Hamilton-Miles City game is going to be the favorite in the state championship a week later. So that's
hard
a
to
huge,
overlook
huge
Dillon,
game.
though, with their tradition and the fact that they already beat Hamilton this year.
Dillon did win 47-7 convincingly over the 4 seed in the East Havre last weekend, and Libby got blanked by Laurel. How about Laurel? 50-0. Over them. So Laurel, by the way, heading to Dillon to play Beaverhead County in the other semifinal game in Class A.
There's a gentleman that runs a Twitter account called Red Mule Sports. I don't know his name. He does not have his name on his Twitter, but I'll give him credit. He has some of the most well-researched and unbelievable Class A stats. I'm actually going to try to track this guy down to get him on our show. I've heard from some people, some of our colleagues, that he's a former sports writer, used to work for the Miles City Star. But he has just this unbelievably extensive knowledge. This whole Twitter account is all about Class A high school football. That's it. But his stats are ridiculous. I think they're so entertaining and fun. But here's a great stat for you, just to put a bow on Frenchtown's season. Jace Kluswich, who's a junior at Frenchtown, he's certainly one of the best college prospects in the state and definitely one of the best individual players in the state of Montana, all classes. And he has now scored 60 total touchdowns in his high school career already, which is an amazing number. But he has only been held without a touchdown 4 times in 32 career games.
Wow.
He already has 29 rushing, 24 receiving, 1 kick, 3 punt, and 4 pick sixes. The guy's doing it all over the place. I mean, it's ridiculous. But that's a great stat. But that's a great stat,
yeah.
right? The only 4 games he's never scored touchdowns in were Dillon, Hamilton, and Billings Central 2 years ago when he was a freshman. And then Miles City this year. This kid scored at least 1 touchdown every single game of the season this year for Frenchtown until the quarterfinals of the playoffs. So congratulations to Frenchtown, because that's a big bounce back year for them. Frenchtown was the dynasty of all dynasties in Class B. Tim Roscoe won 250 games during his career at Frenchtown. They were the triple option wizards. They could beat anybody. And when they moved up to Class A, it was a hard transition for them. They had a hard time hanging in the Southwestern A with schools like Dillon and Hamilton. So that's a huge breakthrough for Frenchtown to get in the playoffs. So good for the Broncs. It's good to have them back in the mix. And it'll be interesting to see, because Hamilton has marched to the state championship game 2 years in a row. They've gone undefeated to get to the state championship game 2 years in a row, and they've lost in the state championship game 2 years in a row. They just avenged that loss with a beating Billings Central on Saturday. Their one loss this year, their first regular season loss in 3 years, was to Dillon by 1 point.
Yeah.
And to make it even more sweet, Hamilton's coached by Bryce Carver, who's from where?
Dillon, Montana.
That's
right.
Bryce Carver will join us later on this week on Two Till Nuanez.
Yep.
So stay tuned for that. We'll have a little preview for you of the Miles City trek that Hamilton has to make. But interesting matchups potentially. I think a Dillon-Hamilton state championship game could be pretty great. Pretty darn fun.
In Class B, North, South, East, West, all the 1 seeds moving on in Class B. Augusta, Fairfield Augusta beat Florence. Florence had a great season this year. They ended up being the number 2 seed out of the West, even above Loyola, who's kind of been the traditional power there. Florence, though, falling in the quarterfinals last week, 55-20. Fairfield Augusta is going to play Manhattan Christian, because Manhattan Christian basically did what they did to Loyola the first time they played them again, 26-7, the final of that football game. So both Loyola and Florence seasons come to an end. It'll be Augusta versus Manhattan Christian. In the bottom of the bracket, Eureka beat Columbus 69-30 to move on. Number 1 seed in the West there, Eureka, and they will take on Red Lodge. Red Lodge having a nice defensive day, scoring 35 and holding Malta to 6 points in that quarterfinal. So it's again all the top teams, all there, all the 1 seeds in Class B.
It's an epic season for Red Lodge because Red Lodge is the outlier amongst those teams you just named. I mean, Manhattan and Eureka, and they've been really good over the years, but this is the first time that Red Lodge made it to the semifinals in 25 years. So that's a huge deal for a tiny little town like that. So that's what's cool about this time of year, because you do have the traditional powers, no doubt, and those seem to continue to rise. But when you have sort of the Cinderella stories too, like Red Lodge, I think that's it's fun for people to follow.
In Class C, we'll get to this just quickly. Fairview and Fort Benton playing in the 1 semifinal. That game in Fairview in 8-man Class C football. And Superior, who has outstanding this season. They're the 1 seed in the West. They beat Belt 46-34. Belt, always a very, very good athletic department football team there in Belt. They will play Great Falls Central, who is the 2 seed from the North in the other semifinal. And in Class C, 8-man, Westbury Granora versus Webo. That's the 3 versus the 2 in the East. The East very strong in Class C 6-man. And then the number 1 team in the East, Jordan, Garfield County, they play Big Sandy. Big Sandy on the map, who's the number 1 team from the North. So 3 Eastern teams in Class C 6-man and 1 team from the North, the number 1 seed, Big Sandy. So there you go.
A couple notes from 8-man. 8-man Fairview's been number 1 all year long, and they look like they're going to do that again. I mean, they beat Thompson Falls 66-6.
Strong.
They scored 6 rushing touchdowns in the first quarter. I don't even know how that's possible with the amount of time that's allowed in the first quarter, but a great effort by Fairview. And then the 6-man, I mean, Webo was an 8-man power forever.
Yes.
It's too bad they had to move down to 6-man. It's too bad that a lot of these eastern Montana towns are having dwindling population, but that's just kind of the way the world.
Webo's still there doing it with the 6-man.
They do, for sure. And Westbury Granora is fascinating because Westbury Granora is actually a co-op. It's the only school in the state that has co-op with a team that's not in the state. Westby is in the upper right-hand corner of Montana, and Granora is actually over the North Dakota border.
Dakota, yeah, that's
so
right.
They've played for multiple state championships in both basketball and football in the last couple of years, but they haven't actually won one. But it'll be an interesting way to spin it if you have 1 or 2 North Dakotans playing for the Montana State, the Montana State champions.
Yes, it will. There you go. That is our Farmers State Bank Prep Extra segment. Hey, Farmers State Bank, put away the pumpkins and corn stalks. It's time for Christmas, is it? We're getting there. A holiday loan from Farmers State Bank can make Christmas to remember. Low payments, easy terms, OAC. Get yourself a low interest loan from Farmers State Bank. Have a wonderful Christmas season. Take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll get you set. Seahawks, Niners, Monday Night Football right after this.
Imagine the sacrifice, the time away from family and friends. The Montana Club would like to say thanks for the many sacrifices our veterans and their families make every day at home and abroad by inviting all veterans and active military to enjoy 50% off all entrees this Veterans Day. The Montana Club looks forward to the opportunity to show their appreciation to all veterans. November 11th, the Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Hey, Colter Nuanez from Tutel Nuanez. If you need a great place for a Christmas gift, I got a spot for you. Aspen Sound in Missoula. They got all the hookups for everything you could possibly need for your vehicles. What are some of the sweet things you got going on down there, Tom?
Thanks, Colter. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto have sure been popular this year for safety and convenience. You can do text messaging, maps, pretty much everything you need, phone calls, music, everything right from the touch of your radio. We also have remote car starters, as you know, and window tint. Lots of goodies at a great price. Come on down and see us.
Feel the music at Aspen Sound.
Do you know what's at stake after a car accident? Not only will you have to deal with pushy insurance companies, auto repair shops, endless doctor's appointments, and dozens of unforeseen problems, but also your normal day-to-day life. I'm Colter here with Catherine from the Advocates Injury Attorneys, and she knows how hard this can be.
That's right. And with all of that, it can seem tempting to take the quick settlement that the insurance company is offering. But I can tell you from experience that it is not going to be a fair amount. I see it all the time where someone has settled with the insurance company and months later realizes that they still have pain coming from the accident. And now they're having to pay those bills out of their pocket. I don't want that to happen to anyone.
So what should our listeners do, Catherine?
Give us a call and discuss your situation with an attorney. The call is free and we'll gladly talk about your situation with you. If you have a case that we can help with, you will owe us nothing out of pocket. We actually make the insurance company pay for us to help you.
There you have it. Call the Advocates at 406-640-4444 or go online, MontanaAdvocates.com. You deserve the Advocates on your side.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Designed to save lives and prevent crashes, the Montana Department of Transportation is busy designing the Stevensville Safety Improvements Project on Highway 269, one of Montana's most dangerous highways. The community is warmly invited to ask questions, share thoughts, and meet the design team, as they will be working for Morningstar Caffeine and Cuisine in Stevi from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. on Thursday, November 14th, 21st, and December 5th. Call the project hotline for more details at 406-207-4484.
If it matters to Missoula, it matters to us. Ryan Tutel and Colter Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio.
'49ers undefeated, but got no George Kittle tonight as they host the Seattle Seahawks. It's Tutel and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. Saturday, December 7th, Kurt's 7th annual snow day, one day only, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Kurtz Polaris in Missoula. The biggest sale of the year, one day, one chance, December 7th. Be there. If you missed anything in the show, listen on the podcast available wherever you get your podcasts. It's there all the time for you. The Tutel and Nuanez podcast brought to us by the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. Colter, the Seahawks are a 6-point underdog at the Niners. We find out now that George Kittle will not be available for this game for San Francisco, which is a significant loss, although Kittle, who I love, by the way, Kittle is one of my favorite players in the NFL. I think he's a great player, and he's an even better personality. He has not been as great this year as he was a year ago. And in any case, the 49ers, how did they get it done? Defensively. I mean, period, end of story. They have a top 3 defense in the NFL. By a lot of metrics, they have the best defense in the NFL, though. Nobody's going to push me off of my New England Patriots defensive perch, not right now, especially with the schedule they played. That said, this is probably the best team that both of these teams have played to this point.
And I'm still not sure that either one of them, they're both good. I guess I'm misstating when I'm saying that I don't think that they're good. I do think both these teams are good. I'm just not sure if they're elite good. Because, I mean, in the NFL, to make the playoffs, you got to be pretty close to elite. And to win a playoff game, you have to be elite, straight up. And I just don't know if either of these teams are quite there yet.
Here's the thing, man. Would you pick either of these teams against the New Orleans Saints in a playoff situation?
Not after what I saw last night or yesterday. The Saints looked terrible.
It was weird, right?
It was actually weird.
Yeah, it was funky.
It was one of those ones though where Alvin Kamara's out and Drew Brees is just coming back from an injury. And
Kamara wasn't out, right? He came back.
He has been out though, and they used him sparingly. It wasn't the 25 touch Alvin Kamara. It was the 11 or 12 touch Alvin Kamara.
I guess here's my point. Carolina, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, no. Okay.
Yeah.
Washington, the New York Giants, no.
Nope.
The Philadelphia Eagles,
nope.
Okay.
Definitely not.
So the only teams that you're talking about competing with either the Seahawks or the 49ers in the entire conference are the Saints, the Packers and the Vikings, and perhaps the Cowboys.
Yep.
Either of these teams, in fact, both of these teams could and very well, I think, have a better likelihood than not to win a playoff game this season. I really think that. I mean, part of it is because the road isn't all that hard.
The entire perception of that division is really suffering because the Rams aren't good.
I know. I mean, the Rams are 5-4, but right, the Rams. Cooper Kupp didn't have a catch against the Steelers.
Oh, trust me, I know. He's my best friend and my best fantasy player, and he did not score for me yesterday. I was very disappointed in him.
Or me. But in any case, yeah, I mean, that's weird. But here's the thing. I don't think the Rams have to be good. I mean, I think that the NFC West is the second best division behind the NFC North in the NFC.
Sure.
And these two teams are playing for it. As you heard Mike Dugar say, though, and I agree with him, this is a monster game for Seattle, because if they lose it, they're now a head-to-head matchup and 2.5 games behind the San Francisco 49ers, past now the halfway point of the NFL season. I mean, that's a huge amount of ground to make up. And whoever San Francisco, has played or doesn't play or whatever, I know you get another head-to-head so you could get that back in Seattle potentially, but they're already a game and a half behind. It's just what it is. And, if they, obviously if San Francisco wins on a bye, it's always weird when they haven't played the same number of games in the NFL. But the San Francisco 49ers, they're going to play the Cardinals, then the Packers, Ravens, and Saints. That is a 3-game stretch where we're going to learn everything we need to know about the San Francisco 49ers when they go Packers, Ravens, Saints in 3 consecutive weeks. But that said, they got, like I mentioned, the Cardinals. They got the Rams, who are really, really struggling. They got the Falcons on their schedule before they finish the season in Seattle. So you just can't look. It doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter why. If you end up at any point in a season 3 games behind the division leader to think you're going to win the division, even with a head-to-head on the line on the last game of the season, it doesn't happen much, okay? It just doesn't happen much. And this is the game. But here's the other thing that's odd about it. If Seattle wins this game, even though they're still a half game behind, I put them in the driver's seat to win the division because of the stretch that the 49ers still have to go on, and because of that wild card, that ace in the hole of playing a home game against this very team on the last game of the season, which CenturyLink will be losing their minds for. I've been in CenturyLink on a game that was the last game of the season that got flexed out because it was a playoff game, because it was the worst division in the history of football. 2 7-win teams trying to slug it out for a playoff berth. And guess what? Guess who won that game? The 12th man. Yeah. That's who won that football game. Okay, and so I got whatever you want to put on the Seahawks winning if it comes to that in week 17. But to get to there, tonight it is, and this is going to be a really fun game. I'm pumped up about this game. The total on this, 47 points, I got the under on this. I think this is a low-scoring football game.
Are the Bucs good?
No.
Are the Bengals good?
I mean, what?
Are the Steelers good?
No.
Are the Browns good?
No.
Are the Rams good?
They're okay.
Redskins?
Come on. Why
Panthers?
No.
Cardinals?
No.
Those are the Niners' 8 wins.
Right.
I'm just saying that this is a huge game in terms of litmus test. I'm actually really interested in this game because, like I said, it's not that I don't think that they could be good. I think the Niners have actually built their identity way different than I thought they were going to build it under Kyle Shanahan. They've built it
on defense
with great offensive linemen. They have they're the only team in the league that plays 4 running backs.
That's because Kyle Shanahan's not the one building it.
John Lynch is the one building it. Absolutely.
I mean, they're doing it together. To make no mistake, they're hand in glove on this. But John Lynch is the smart guy. Where is he? Stanford? Where was this? I mean, he's
Stanford. Yep.
Yeah, smart.
You got it.
He's out there.
Right.
He's got it figured out.
And when you look at the Seahawks schedule, they've beat as well. They have a bunch of common opponents. But they beat the Bengals, the Steelers. They lost. The only 2 good teams that the Seahawks have played,
they've lost to,
have been the Ravens and the Saints.
That's right.
And so I just think it's a really good litmus test. I don't think the Seahawks are very good on defense. They can get by, but they get gashed and they give up a lot of points. And that's a far cry from what Pete Carroll is used to during his long run of success as the head coach. But I do think that the Niners are such a great example of the salary cap era way that you build a team that can win early in the process. They've done such a good job of drafting on defense. They got their franchise guy, Nick Bosa. He's the one that's turned the corner. But even the last 2 years, watching the Niners, like when Jimmy G got hurt, they were still in games with C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins because they got dudes on defense.
Yeah.
And I think that gets you a long ways. I do think the Niners are good on D, and I do think they have a good offensive line. I think that gets you a long ways. This game is going to be very revealing to me tonight. I'm going to have a definitive opinion about these teams after watching this game.
I agree. And the other thing, too, man, is like we can go through the schedule, and they have been soft schedules for both teams, okay? No argument. It's still the NFL, and it's still a game where, if you're winning by more than one score, you are dominating. San Francisco beat Carolina 2 weeks ago, 51-13. I mean, it's insane. Then they only got a 3-point win against Carolina or against the Cardinals. But you know what you need to be a great team? You need to be better than all the bad teams. And you know what? They have not even come. I wouldn't say they haven't sniffed. They've played some close games, but they're perfect. They're 8-0. I mean, even good teams lose to bad teams sometimes.
Saints to the Falcons.
So if you are 8-0, you are good, and you are on your way to very, very good. Here's the thing. You want to look at the New England Patriots schedule? Everybody talking about, Patriots pencil them into the Super Bowl. They played as easy a schedule as anybody, including the Niners, but everybody's incredulous to the Niners because they haven't done it yet. It's not Belichick and Brady sitting back there.
That's it. That's my hesitation, is that I do believe that Russell Wilson can go win you a couple playoff games because he's done it.
Sure.
The Niners could straight up go 14-2 and lose in the first round of the playoffs.
No doubt. They could. But if they go 14-2, they will be losing in the second round of the playoffs.
It's a good point.
All right, Coulter, quickly though, 6 points. The over/under on this. I'm taking Seattle.
6 points. 6 points to spread.
6 points to spread. Excuse me, 47 the total.
I was going to say I'll take the over if the over/under is 6.
The defense are good, but they're not that good. I got Seattle covering 6 though. I think 6 is too big a number on a low scoring game. But tell me this: who do you think is going to actually win the football game tonight? Sherman against his old team, and all the defense that the Niners are playing. The Niners have a definitively better defense than what Seattle has. But and the Niners and Seahawks run games have been very equal, which is a great compliment to the Niners because they the Seahawks, they were the number one rushing team in the NFL last season. So I think they're pretty equitable that way, but the defense of the Niners is much better at stopping the rush than is the Seahawks. But number 3 is that sort of wild card in there. And so I love Russell Wilson in this spot. I think Russell Wilson loves this spot. By the way, this from at Adam Schefter. This is the first of 4 consecutive primetime games for the Seahawks. They go Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Monday night again, and then is it a Thursday? I don't know what it is, but they're on another primetime game 4 straight weeks. That's pretty good. Boys and girls, enjoy Monday Night Football. We send you out to Levi's Stadium right now. Steve Rabel on the call for you. The Seattle Seahawks hosting, on the road at the San Francisco 49ers in the game of the week and one of the games of the year. I'm pumped up about this. I'm excited to sit back and open up some Brussels sprouts and watch this one happen.
Oh, man, you and Brussels sprouts. We'll see. But it's going to be a good game.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Tires. Well, more like Les Schwab alignment and brakes and shocks and wheels and tires.